So with that, I'd like to bring up something very interesting. There's a company that we as Americans don't know of very much, but it's one of the largest telcos around. It's called Orange. And I'd like to introduce them to give us a few minutes as to what they're doing innovatively, and then we're going to go right into the mobile panel. And what we have coming up, in addition, is some more Fast and Cools and a whole great panel on the entertainment industry that we'll be hearing from with John Turteltaub right after the break. So with that, let me bring up Georges Nahon to come and talk for a few seconds about what Orange Labs is doing. Thank you, Georges. Pleasure.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. I was invited and honored to share with you a few thoughts about where this industry is going. And so I'm based in San Francisco. I'm running the R&D lab for Orange, which is the new name for France Telecom. And it's a carrier with operation mostly in Europe, but also in other countries in Middle East, Africa, and in some other places. So just to give you an order of magnitude, our market cap is about $33 billion, and our revenue last year, $56 billion. So I wanted to share with you a few thoughts about what's happening, what we see happening, particularly after the first discussion. So we see a number of transgressions happening in the digital industry, broadly speaking. Particularly, we see everybody going after other people's businesses. So if you look at telcos, for example, in the US, but it's true everywhere, telcos are going after TV. Cable cos are going after broadband. The web giants, they're doing connectivity and advertising. And the same is true with social networks in general. They go against the big web properties. They go against the algorithm, and they're basing the future of the web on human interaction and input. So same thing that Apple did to music, they did to the telecom business to some extent, and they are apparently prepared to do the same thing to the TV and video world. And this is because all of the assets that we care about are becoming digital, and they are connected, and they are shared more and more. So the reason behind this, of course, as many of us know, is because the Internet protocol is essentially unifying, via fixed line, public, private, mobile, IP protocol. The IP protocol is unifying with digital. It's unifying this world. So because it's becoming more and more a software-based world, including and particularly for the telecom industry, and more it's a data-centric, more than software, it's data-centric. What we see happening is that the metabolism of change has accelerated, and so there is some distortions that we see in investment priorities, including from companies like Orange, because the shareholders are becoming very impatient with the long-term cycles of R&D. And it's true for carriers, but it's true for other large companies in the establishment. So most of the attention nowadays is going after companies, startups, or products coming from academia that can scale very rapidly. And as a result, the traditional R&D is kind of lagging behind what the entrepreneurs are essentially creating. So M&A for companies like Orange is becoming the new R&D to some extent. I mean, not totally, but pretty much so. So we acquire companies, we invest in new companies. So we bought this company called Dailymotion, which is like a YouTube, a smaller one, but it's kind of a YouTube. So it's a good OTT, over-the-top video concern that we acquired because, they're very good in the business of video over-the-top, and they're good at the technologies that we don't necessarily master very well. So we're also working with companies like the content organization, and we strike distribution deals, and that's very interesting because we are also going in adjacent businesses like content distribution. But the point I wanted to make here is that as these things are happening, as all these changes are happening to our industry, there are a few concerns, and one of them is about regulation. The regulations that are applied to broadly speaking, the telecom industry are old regulation, and they have these regulations are having a hard time coping with the future. As a result, you see in the web space no regulation at all. And that's why you hear about, you know, the net neutrality thing on the regulated side of the industry, which is essentially the carriers. And you don't hear the equivalent in the web industry, which would be something like data neutrality. So it's very funny that, I don't know if you read the news yesterday, but Google is complaining about not being able to access Facebook data. And clearly, because there is no data neutrality. The data that web giants collect from us, they're not available to ourselves, they're not available to third parties. So regulation is a bit of a problem if it continues to regulate the future with regulation of the past. So it's the best interest of the entire digital industry to sort of improve this whole thing. And I want to conclude by saying that it is very clear to people like ourselves now that most of the creativity and innovation can only come from entrepreneurs and academia, and the way the academia is translating in very interesting startups what they are inventing. And I try to explain why we think this is happening. You know, software world, connected world, it's happening very rapidly, development is very quick. So for us to benefit from that, we're very interested in working with some of the people in the room, people who see the problems and the challenges that we are facing, where we need good product and solutions, but they also see things that we don't see ourselves. So we don't know what we don't know about this business, and for some strange reason, entrepreneurs see better than we do. So it's very interesting for us to bridge with the entrepreneurial community, both here and in Israel. Thank you very much.